Hi everyone. So the goal of this video is to understand muscle movements. Specifically, I want you to describe the movements of our muscles using anatomical terms. All right, so we'll start with these two that maybe you've heard of, maybe not, but there's flexion and extension. So flexion is a movement that generally decreases the angle of the joint and brings two bones closer together. And so this might be intuitive when you think about somebody flexing their muscle or flexing like their bicep. They're bringing their hand closer to their upper arm. All right, so the angle here is getting smaller. All right, so that's what flexion is. The angle is getting smaller when you flex. Now, on the other hand, when you do an extension, that's when you are extending and that angle is getting bigger. That's kind of what you see in this picture as well. So those are two motions and they are opposites to each other. Now you can have flexion and extension not just of your elbow, but of your arm, of your neck, of your back, of your knee. So it shows up in many different places. So you can kind of see in this picture here where I'll just point out a few. So the flexion of your arm would look like this. You're bringing your arm up. Flexion at your knee would look like you're bringing your leg up, but the angle here is getting smaller. All right. Extension is the opposite. Like when you extend your legs, you're straightening them, the angle behind your knee is getting bigger. So we're extending our leg. All right. And then you can also have flexion and extension of your neck. All right. So these are terms that are probably new. So abduction, adduction, rotation, circumduction. So abduction is a moving a limb away from the midline. So you can think of like being abducted, like if you were abducted by aliens. They're kind of like moving you away from Earth. All right, abduction is moving away from the midline of the body. Adduction is the opposite. You're adding the limb towards your body. Rotation is movement of a bone around its longitudinal axis, common in ball and socket joints. And then finally, circumduction is really just a fancy name of moving something in a circle. So I'll read the definition for you. Combination of flexion, extension, abduction, and adduction, commonly seen in ball and socket joints, like your shoulder or your hip. The proximal end of the limb is stationary, while the distal end moves in a circle. So remember, proximal means like closer to the center of your body, and distal means like further away. Like if we're talking about your leg, that'd be distal would be like where your foot is, and proximal is like where your hip is. If all these definitions are confusing, I have a picture for you here. So we have extension and flexion, but we also have right here, you can see abduction. You can see the hand is moving away from the midline of the body. Conversely, adduction, the hand is moving closer towards the body. All right, so those are opposites of each other. And then we have circumduction. Circumduction is when your arm is kind of rotating in a circle. So I feel like this is a common like warm up for, especially for like baseball players. They'll do some like arm circles to get their shoulders warmed up. So that's like circumduction. And then we have rotation. You know, rotating your neck from side to side. You can rotate your legs, things like that. All right, but that is abduction, adduction, rotation, and circumduction. And then a couple of final other terms I will give you are agonist and antagonist. So an agonist, sometimes called a prime mover, depending on what textbook you're looking at. So it might be useful to know both those terms, agonist and prime mover. But it's the muscle that's responsible for a particular motion. And an antagonist is a muscle that opposes or reverses that movement. So in this example, during elbow flexion, your biceps are the agonists. When you're flexing to like kind of bring your muscles, when you are flexing to bring your arms up, your biceps are the ones that are contracting and your triceps are relaxed. So we would call your biceps the agonist, we call your triceps the antagonist. Now, obviously these can easily switch roles. If I go to extend my arms and I'm doing elbow extension, Now my tricep is becoming the agonist because it is the one that is doing the motion, and the antagonist becomes my bicep. So again, it's all about which muscle is doing the main motion. Whichever muscle is causing that motion, that's the agonist. And any muscle that's on the other side is the antagonist. I'll give you a quick another example that's not here in the picture, but your quadriceps and your hamstrings. Those muscles are commonly agonist and antagonist. So if you're going to do knee extensions, you're extending your knee, you're using your quadriceps to extend your knee so that your leg is straight. And your quadriceps are the agonist, and your hamstrings are the antagonists. All right. That's just another example for you. So those are some definitions that are good to know. Those are some common muscle movements. So I would study those vocabulary terms, and then you might have a few practice problems to go over. That's it. Good luck.